The weird signal. It was a quiet night at the old radio station. Bob, the night watchman, was doing his usual rounds. He was bored, as always. Nothing ever happened here. But tonight was different. As Bob walked past the dusty old machines, he heard something strange, a faint beeping sound. At first, he thought it was just his imagination. But the beeping got louder. Curious, Bob followed the sound. It led him to an ancient radio receiver in the corner. The machine hadn't worked in years. But now, its lights were blinking. Bob's hand shook as he reached for the volume knob. He turned it up slowly. The beeping filled the room. It wasn't random noise. It had a pattern. Beep, beep, beep. Pause. Beep, beep. Pause. Beep, 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 beep. Bob's eyes went wide. "Holy cow," he whispered. "It's a message." He grabbed the phone and called his boss. "Sir, you need to come here now. Something big is happening." Within an hour, the old radio station was buzzing with activity. Scientists, government officials, and military personnel crowded around the beeping machine. Dr. Sarah Lee, the lead scientist, listened to the signal with a frown. "It's definitely not from Earth," she said. "The pattern is too complex." Too alien. The room went silent. Alien? Was this first contact? General Thompson, a tough-looking man with a bushy mustache, stepped forward. "We can't let this information get out," he growled. "It would cause panic." Dr. Lee argued, "But sir, this could be the most important discovery in human history." The general shook his head. "It's probably just some space junk making noise. We'll say it was a malfunction and shut this place down." As the bigwigs argued, no one noticed a shadowy figure slip out the back door. Across town, in a dingy bar called The Last Call, a group of misfits were having their usual late-night drinks. There was Jack, an ex-spy with a scar on his cheek. Next to him sat Maria, a hacker who could break into any computer. At the end of the bar was Big Mike, a former boxer with fists like hammers. They were joined by Samantha, an ex-soldier who could shoot the wings off a fly, and Doc, a disgraced scientist with wild gray hair. These were the outcasts, the ones society had thrown away. But they all had one thing in common. They were the best at what they did. Suddenly, the bar's TV flickered. The news anchor looked nervous. "We interrupt this program for breaking news. The government has announced that an old radio station experienced a malfunction tonight, causing strange noises. Officials assure us there's nothing to worry about." Jack's eyes narrowed. "Malfunction, my foot," he muttered. Just then, a hooded figure burst into the bar. It was Charlie, the youngest of their group, a tech whiz with a talent for being in the right place at the wrong time. "Guys," Charlie panted, out of breath, "you won't believe what I just saw." For the next 10 minutes, Charlie told them about the scene at the radio station. The beeping, the alien signal, and the government cover-up. "I managed to record some of it on my phone," Charlie said, pulling out a device. The group huddled around as Charlie played the recording. The strange beeps filled the bar. Beep, beep, beep. Pause. Beep, beep. Pause. Beep, 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 beep. Doc's eyes lit up. "It's a pattern. Not random at all." Maria nodded. Definitely a coded message. But from who? And saying what? For hours, they worked on decoding the signal. Empty coffee cups piled up as they scribbled notes and argued theories. Finally, as the sun began to rise, Maria let out a whoop of triumph. "I've got it." Everyone gathered around her laptop. On the screen was a simple message. "Hill PUS. Danger. Coordinates follow." Below the message was a string of numbers. Doc quickly recognized them as star coordinates. "It's an alien distress call," Samantha said in awe. "Someone out there needs our help." The group looked at each other. They were criminals, outcasts, and misfits. But they were also the only ones who knew the truth. "So," Jack said with a grin, "who wants to go on a space rescue mission?" Big Mike cracked his knuckles. I'm in. Always wanted to punch an alien. We'll need a ship, Samantha pointed out. Maria's eyes twinkled. Leave that to me. I know where the government keeps their secret toys. As the group began to plan their impossible mission, they didn't realize they were about to become humanity's unlikely heroes. The outcasts were going to save the galaxy. And so, in a dingy bar called The Last Call, Earth's first interstellar rescue mission was born. The weird signal from space had set everything in motion. Soon, the universe would learn why you should never underestimate humans, especially the crazy ones. Bad guys turning good. The sun was rising over the city as our unlikely heroes left the Last Call bar. They had a crazy plan: steal a spaceship and answer an alien distress call. But first, they needed to work together. And that wasn't going to be easy. Jack, the ex-spy, took charge. All right, misfits, he said with a grin. Let's introduce ourselves properly. I'll start. He stood tall, his scar gleaming in the morning light. I'm Jack. Used to be a top spy until I refused to hurt an innocent family. Got kicked out and branded a traitor. Next was Maria, the hacker. She nervously pushed up her glasses. I'm Maria. I kind of crashed the stock market once. By accident, mostly. Big Mike flexed his massive arms. Name's Mike. Was gonna be boxing champ till I punched the wrong guy. Turns out he was the mayor's son. Samantha twirled a knife expertly. Sam here. Best sniper in the army until I discovered my bosses were bad guys, so I shot them instead. Doc cleared his throat. I'm Dr. Franklin, but just call me Doc. I tried to make a cure for cancer. Ended up making a really good hair growth formula instead. Science can be funny like that. Charlie, the youngest, waved shyly. I'm Charlie. Got kicked out of MIT for hacking the Pentagon. It was just a prank, but they didn't think it was funny. As they shared their stories, something strange happened. These outcasts, used to being alone, started to feel like a team. Jack clapped his hands. Okay, gang. We need a ship. Maria, what have you got? Maria's fingers flew over her laptop. There's a secret government facility 50 miles north. They've got experimental spacecraft. But security's tight. Samantha grinned. Security's my middle name. Well, actually it's Danger, but that's not important right now. For the next few hours, they planned their heist. It was like a movie, with cool code names and everything. Operation Space Racers was a go. That night, they put their plan into action. Charlie hacked the facility's cameras, making them show an empty lot. Maria jammed their communications. Big Mike and Samantha dealt with the guards. They didn't hurt anyone, just used some sleepy gas Doc made. Soon, all the guards were taking a nice nap. Jack, meanwhile, sneaked into the control room. With his spy skills, cracking the safe was easy peasy. He found the keys to their new ride. A shiny spaceship called Stardust. But just as they were about to celebrate, alarms started blaring. Oops, said Charlie, looking sheepish. I think I accidentally turned off the hack when I sneezed. Run, yelled Jack. They all sprinted to the hangar where Stardust waited. Guards were waking up, shouting and confused. Everyone in. Samantha yelled, jumping into the pilot's seat. I flew helicopters in the Army. How different can a spaceship be? As it turned out, very different. Stardust rose shakily, bumping into walls and knocking over equipment. Sorry, Samantha kept saying as they zigzagged out of the hangar. Behind them, General Thompson arrived, his face red with anger. Stop them, he roared. But it was too late. With a final wobbly loop, Stardust shot into the night sky. Inside the ship, our heroes caught their breath. They'd done it. They'd actually stolen a spaceship. Nice flying, Sam, Jack said, his hair standing up from the wild ride. Samantha grinned. Thanks. I think I'm getting the hang of it. Just then, Stardust did a sudden flip, making everyone float for a second. Mostly, Samantha added with a nervous laugh. As Earth got smaller behind them, the team felt something they hadn't in a long time. Hope. They were doing something good, something important. Doc looked at the star map where the alien coordinates glowed. According to this, we've got a long journey ahead. About 3 months in space. 3 months. Big Mike groaned. What are we gonna do for 3 months? Maria's eyes twinkled. Well, this ship has a huge database. We could learn stuff. Like I could teach you all about computers. And I could give boxing lessons, Big Mike said, getting excited. Soon, everyone was sharing what they could teach. Jack would show them spy tricks. Samantha offered shooting lessons. Doc was eager to share his science knowledge. And I'll make sure we don't fly into a sun or something, Samantha added. As they made plans, laughing and joking, something amazing was happening. These bad guys were becoming a family. A weird, mismatched family, but a family all the same. Charlie, who'd been quiet, suddenly spoke up. Guys, I just want to say, thanks for letting me be part of this. It's the first time I felt like I belong somewhere. There was a moment of silence. Then Big Mike ruffled Charlie's hair. Kid, you're one of us now. We stick together. Jack nodded. That's right. We might be headed into danger, but we're doing it together. For once in our lives, we're the good guys. As Stardust zoomed through space, Earth now just a tiny blue dot behind them, our heroes felt ready for anything. They were on a mission to save aliens they'd never met, in a stolen spaceship they barely knew how to fly. But they had each other. And sometimes, that's all you need to be a hero. Little did they know, their biggest adventures were still to come. The galaxy was waiting, and it had no idea what was heading its way. The bad guys were now the good guys, and they were going to save the universe, or cause a lot of funny trouble trying. Wow, real aliens. 3 months zoomed by faster than a shooting star. Our misfit crew had turned their stolen spaceship, Stardust, into a cozy home. They'd learned a lot from each other, too. Big Mike could now hack a computer, sort of, and Maria had biceps from all the boxing practice. As they neared the alien coordinates, excitement filled the air. Look, Charlie shouted, pointing at the view screen. A planet. Everyone rushed to look. The planet was beautiful, all swirly purples and greens. Wow, breathed Samantha. We're really doing this. We're meeting aliens. Jack grinned. All right, team, remember the plan. Be friendly, but careful. We don't know what we're flying into. As Stardust entered the planet's atmosphere, they saw something alarming. Huge chunks of metal were scattered everywhere, smoking and broken. Are those spaceships? Doc asked, adjusting his glasses. What's left of them? Jack said grimly. Looks like we arrived just after a big fight. Samantha carefully landed Stardust in a clearing. As the dust settled, they saw movement in the trees. Hello, Jack called out, stepping onto the planet's surface. We're here to help. Suddenly, a group of creatures emerged from the forest. They were tall, about 7 feet, with scaly green skin and big friendly eyes. They looked like a cross between lizards and teddy bears. Holy guacamole, Big Mike whispered. Real aliens. One alien stepped forward. It wore a shiny collar that blinked. When it spoke, the collar translated its words into English. Greetings, strange creatures. The alien said, I am Zorp, leader of the Bliblops. Did you receive our distress signal? Jack nodded, trying to act cool, but inside, he was freaking out because aliens. Yes, we did. I'm Jack, and these are my friends. We're humans from planet Earth. We're here to help. Zorp's big eyes got even bigger. Earth. But that's so far away. You are very brave to come all this way. Just then, a loud boom shook the ground. In the distance, they saw a huge ship landing. It looked mean, covered in spikes and guns. Oh no, Zorp said, trembling. The Buskillers are back. The who now? Asked Maria. The Buskillers, Zorp explained. They're big, scary bug monsters. They keep attacking us and stealing our shiny rocks. Shiny rocks. Doc perked up. You mean crystals? Are they a power source? Zorp nodded. Yes, they power our cities and spaceships. But the Buskillers want them all for themselves. Another boom. The Buskiller ship was getting closer. Quick, said Samantha. How many of you are there? We need to evacuate. We're only about 100, Zorp said. But we can't leave our home. Jack thought fast. Okay, new plan. Zorp, get your people to safety. We'll handle the Buskillers. Zorp looked doubtful. But you're so small and squishy looking. Big Mike flexed his muscles. Don't let the squish fool you, buddy. We're tougher than we look. As the Blip-Blops scurried into caves, our heroes prepared for battle. They didn't have much time, but they had something better, crazy ideas, and the skills to pull them off. Charlie, hack into their ship's systems, Jack ordered. Maria, help him. Doc, what can you whip up with the stuff on our ship? Doc grinned maniacally. Oh, I've got just the thing. Big Mike, I'll need your strength. Minutes later, the Buskiller ship landed. A door opened, and out marched the scariest bugs you've ever seen. They were huge, with snapping pincers and glowing red eyes. The leader, twice as big as the others, stepped forward. Puny creatures, it buzzed. Give us all your crystals or be squashed. That's when Operation Bug Zapper began. First, Charlie and Maria worked their tech magic. Suddenly, the Buskillers' scary guns turned into bubble blowers. The bugs were very confused. Then, Doc's secret weapon came into play. It was a huge fan, powered by the ship's engines. Big Mike turned it on, aiming it at the Buskillers. Whoosh! A tornado of sticky slime, Doc's special recipe, flew out, coating the bug monsters from antenna to feet. "You, gross," the Buskillers cried, slipping and sliding. But the bugs were tough. They kept coming, looking really angry now. "Time for Plan B," shouted Jack. "Sam, you're up." Samantha had been setting up a special surprise. She pressed a button, and suddenly, huge speakers rose from the ground. They started blasting the most annoying sound ever, a mix of nails on a chalkboard and Baby Shark song. The Buskillers couldn't take it. They covered where their ears would be, if bugs had ears, and ran back to their ship. "Retreat," the leader yelled. "These creatures are too weird and annoying." As the Buskiller ship took off, covered in slime and with bubble guns, our heroes cheered. They'd done it. They'd saved the aliens. Zorp and the Blip-Blops came out of hiding, amazed. "That was incredible," Zorp said. "You defeated the Buskillers with fun." Jack laughed. Sometimes the best weapon is a good sense of humor and really sticky slime. The Blip-Blops threw a big thank you party. There was weird alien food, tasty, once you got past the wiggling, and funky alien dances that made everyone laugh. As the party wound down, Zorp approached the team. "Brave humans," he said solemnly. "You have saved our world. How can we ever repay you?" Our heroes looked at each other. They hadn't really thought about rewards. They were just happy to help. "Well," said Jack with a smile, "we could use some of those crystals to power our ship. And maybe, could you spread the word about us? There might be other aliens out there who need help." Zorp nodded enthusiastically. "Of course. We will tell everyone about the brave and strange humans who fight with bubbles and sticky goo." As our heroes prepared to leave, loaded up with crystals and new alien friends, they felt proud. They had started this journey as outcasts, but now they were galactic heroes. "So," Big Mike asked as they took off, waving goodbye to the Blip-Blops, "where to next?" Jack looked at the star map, now blinking with new distress signals. "Looks like we got a lot of choices. The galaxy needs us." And so Stardust blasted off into space, ready for new adventures. Earth's unlikeliest heroes were just getting started. The universe had better watch out. The fun was just beginning. Teaching lizards to fight. The Stardust crew was back on the Bliplop planet. After their big win against the Buzzkillers, they decided to stick around and help their new lizard friends learn to defend themselves. "All right, you scaly cuties," Samantha said, pacing in front of a line of nervous Bliplops. "Time to toughen up." The Bliplops looked at each other, confused. One raised a scaly hand. Miss Human, what's toughen up mean?" Samantha sighed. This was going to be harder than she thought. Meanwhile, Jack and Maria were trying to teach another group how to use computers. "Okay, so this is a mouse," Maria explained, holding up the device. A Bliplop named Glorp looked alarmed. "You use tiny animals to control your machines. That's cruel." No, Jack laughed. "It's just called a mouse. It's not a real animal." Glorp still looked suspicious. "If you say so." Across the field, Big Mike was having his own challenges. He was trying to show the Bliplops how to punch. "Like this, see?" Mike demonstrated, hitting a punching bag. The Bliplops tried to copy him, but their arms were too short. They ended up doing cute little arm waves instead. "Well," Mike said, scratching his head, "I guess we could call that the dizzy bug move." Mike confused the enemy. Doc and Charlie were having a bit more success. They were teaching the Bliplops how to make simple traps and gadgets. "And if you connect these wires," Doc explained, "you get a small electric shock." "Ooh," the Bliplops said in unison. Then one of them touched the wires. "ZAP. We." The zapped Bliplop giggled. "Do it again." Charlie grinned. "I think we just invented a new Bliplop game." As the day went on, the humans realized they needed to change their approach. The Bliplops weren't built for fighting like humans were, but they had their own strengths. "Gather round, everyone," Jack called. All the Bliplops and humans came together. "We've been trying to teach you to fight like us," Jack said, "but that's not going to work. You're not humans, you're Bliplops. And that's awesome." The Bliplops looked confused but happy. They liked being called awesome. "So," Jack continued, "let's focus on what you're good at. What can you do that the Buzzkillers can't?" There was silence for a moment. Then a small Bliplop named Ping spoke up. "We can change colors," Ping said. To demonstrate, his green scales suddenly turned bright pink. "That's perfect," Samantha exclaimed. "You could use that to hide or distract the enemy." Soon, ideas were flying. "We can make really high-pitched noises," another Bliplop said. "Great for confusing the Buzzkillers," Maria nodded. "Oh, and our tails are super stretchy," Glorp added, extending his tail to grab an apple from a nearby tree. "Excellent for grabbing weapons or tripping up bad guys," Jack said with a grin. For the next few weeks, the training took on a whole new style. Instead of punches and kicks, the Bliplops practiced camouflage techniques and tail-tripping maneuvers. They learned to use their high-pitched voices to scramble enemy communications. Doc and Charlie taught them to make stink bombs that smelled delicious to Bliplops but horrible to Buzzkillers. Big Mike showed them how to use their natural bounciness to dodge attacks. It wasn't all smooth sailing, though. There were plenty of funny mishaps along the way. Like when a group of Bliplops tried to practice their color-changing camouflage, and all turned the same bright orange as the training uniforms Samantha had given them. "Maybe we should fight in a giant pumpkin patch," Samantha joked. Or the time when they were practicing their high-pitched battle cry, and it was so loud it knocked out all the power in the Stardust. "Well," Charlie said, rebooting the ship's systems, "at least we know it works." But day by day, the Bliplops got better. They started to believe in themselves. They weren't trying to be human fighters anymore. They were becoming Bliplop defenders. One day, near the end of their training, Zorp approached Jack with a serious look on his scaly face. "Jack," Zorp said, "we've received reports that the Buzzkillers are planning another attack. A big one." Jack nodded grimly. I was afraid of that. But you know what, Zorp? I think you're ready. Zorp's eyes widened. Really? You think we can handle it? I know you can, Jack said with a smile. You're not the same Bliplops we met a month ago. You're warriors now. Weird, scaly, color-changing warriors. Zorp stood up straighter, looking proud. You're right. We are warriors. Bliplop warriors. As they prepared for the coming battle, there was a new energy in the air. The Bliplops weren't scared anymore. They were excited to use their new skills. Remember, Samantha told them during their final training session, you're not fighting like humans. You're fighting like Bliplops. And that's your strength. The night before the expected Buskiller attack, the Bliplops threw a party. There was singing, very high-pitched singing, dancing, lots of tail swinging, and plenty of that wiggly food the humans had finally gotten used to. As Jack watched the celebration, he felt a surge of pride. These goofy lizard aliens had become more than friends. They were family now. Suddenly, alarms started blaring. A Bliplop rushed up to Jack, looking panicked. The Buskillers, the Bliplop shouted. They're here early. Hundreds of ships. Jack looked at his team, then at the Bliplops. Everyone nodded, ready for action. All right, Jack said, a determined grin on his face. Let's show those bugs what happens when you mess with the Bliplops. As the Buskiller ships appeared in the sky, the Bliplops and their human friends stood together, ready to fight. It was time to put their crazy, mixed-up training to the test. The battle for the Bliplop world was about to begin. And this time, the lizards were ready to give the bugs a real surprise. The big fight. The sky turned dark as hundreds of Buskiller ships filled the air. It looked like angry storm clouds made of metal and guns. The Bliplops gulped nervously, but stood their ground. Remember your training, Jack shouted. You've got this. Zorp, the Bliplop leader, raised his scaly arms. For our home. He yelled in his squeaky voice. For our home. The other Bliplops echoed. It sounded like a choir of excited mice, but it was still pretty inspiring. The first Buskiller ships landed, and out poured waves of giant angry bugs. They looked meaner than ever, with new armor and bigger pinchers. Well, well, buzzed the Buskiller leader. Look who learned some new tricks. Doesn't matter. We'll squash you all the same. That's when Samantha gave the signal. Now, she yelled. Suddenly, all the Bliplops changed color. In the blink of an eye, they went from green to looking exactly like the rocky ground beneath them. The Buskillers stopped, confused. Where did all the lizards go? Spread out. The bug leader ordered. Find them. As the Buskillers moved forward, they didn't notice the slightly wiggling rocks beneath their feet. Until it was too late. Tail attack. Zorp shouted. All at once, hundreds of stretchy Bliplop tails shot out, wrapping around the Buskiller's legs. With a mighty pull, the bugs went tumbling down. What is this? The Buskiller leader buzzed angrily. But the Bliplops weren't done. As the bugs tried to get up, they were hit with wave after wave of stink bombs. Splat, splat, splat. The air filled with a smell that was lovely to Bliplops, but absolutely horrible to Buskillers. The bugs started gagging and coughing. My nose, one bug cried. It burns. Meanwhile, Big Mike was leading a group of bouncy Bliplops in a charge against the Buskiller ships. They bounced high into the air, landing on the ships and covering the windows with sticky goo they secreted from their hands. I can't see. A Buskiller pilot yelled, his ship zigzagging wildly before crashing into another ship. On another part of the battlefield, Maria and Charlie were using the Bliplops' high-pitched voices in a clever way. They had set up giant speakers that amplified the squeaky sounds, turning them into a powerful sonic weapon. S-T-R-E-E-E-E-E went the speakers. The sound waves hit the Buskillers like an invisible wall, sending them flying backward. Bug armor cracked, and their antennas went all wobbly. But the bus killers were tough. They regrouped and started pushing forward again. Time for Phase 2. Jack called out. Doc grinned and pressed a button on a remote control. Suddenly, the ground opened up in front of the advancing bugs. They had dug trenches and covered them. And now hundreds of bus killers fell in. The trenches were filled with a special goo Doc had made. It didn't hurt the bugs, but it made them stick together like glue. I'm stuck. Get off me. Whose antenna is in my face? The bugs yelled, all tangled up. The blip-blops cheered. They were winning. But then, the bus killer leader pulled out a secret weapon. It was a giant ray gun that shot beams of cold energy. ZAP, ZAP, ZAP. Where the beams hit, blip-blops were frozen in place, unable to move or change color. Fall back, Samantha yelled. The blip-blops retreated, dragging their frozen friends with them. Things were looking bad. The bus killers were pushing forward again, and more ships were landing. Jack gathered the team. We need a new plan, fast. That's when Glorp, one of the Shire blip-blops, spoke up. I have an idea, but it's kind of crazy. Crazy is our specialty, Big Mike said with a grin. Glorp explained his plan. Everyone's eyes went wide. That's not just crazy, Maria said. It's brilliantly crazy. They quickly got to work. While the rest kept fighting, Glorp led a small team to the biggest crystal cave on the planet. The bus killer leader laughed as he saw the main group of defenders retreating to the cave. You're trapping yourselves. Foolish lizards. But as the bugs followed them in, they got a big surprise. The cave was filled with crystals. Big crystals, small crystals, crystals everywhere. And each one had a little device attached to it that Charlie and Doc had quickly made. Now, Jack yelled. Glorp took a deep breath and let out the highest-pitched squeal he could. All the other blip-blops joined in. The sound hit the crystals, and the devices amplified it. Suddenly, the cave was filled with a rainbow light show. The amplified sound waves bounced off every crystal, getting louder and brighter. The bus killers couldn't handle it. The noise scrambled their senses, the light blinded them, and the vibration shook their armor apart. Retreat, the bug leader yelled. Everybody out. The bus killers ran out of the cave, tripping over each other in their hurry to escape. They flew back to their ships, which took off so fast they left scorch marks on the ground. As the last ship disappeared into space, the blip-blops and their human friends came out of the cave. They looked around in amazement. They had done it. They had won. We beat them, Zorp said, not quite believing it. You sure did, Jack said, patting him on the back. You beat them with pure blip-blop power. The celebration that followed was like nothing the humans had ever seen. There was bouncing, color changing, tail swinging, and so much squeaky singing that the humans had to wear earplugs. As the party went on, Samantha turned to Jack. So, what now? Mission accomplished, right? Jack looked up at the stars twinkling in the sky. Maybe, but something tells me our adventures are just beginning. After all, there's a whole galaxy out there. And who knows? Maybe more aliens need our help. The rest of the team gathered around, grinning and nodding. Well then, Big Mike said, cracking his knuckles, I guess it's time for Operation Galaxy Guards to begin. And so, as the blip-blops celebrated their victory, Earth's unlikeliest heroes began planning their next mission. The galaxy had no idea what was coming its way. Famous in space. News travels fast, even in space. The story of how a bunch of human misfits and their lizard friends beat the scary bus killers spread like wildfire across the galaxy. It started with a few blips on the galactic news channels. Unknown species helps blip-blops defeat bus killer armada. Mysterious humans turned the tide in long-standing alien conflict. Who are these Earth warriors? And where did they come from? Soon, the Stardust crew found themselves in the middle of a galactic media frenzy. "Guys," Charlie said one morning, staring at the ship's communication panel, "we've got about 1,000,000 messages here." Jack leaned over to look. 1,000,000? That can't be right. 1,327,052, to be exact, Charlie replied. Maria pushed her way to the screen. "They're from all over the galaxy. Look, some are even video messages." Curious, they played one. A hologram appeared of a creature that looked like a cross between an octopus and a disco ball. "Greetings, mighty humans," the alien said, tentacles waving excitedly. "The glitter folk of Sparkle 7 request your aid. Our sun is turning pink, and we don't know how to accessorize anymore." They played another. This time, it was a furry creature with 6 eyes. "Hello, Earth warriors. The fluffballs of Cuddle Prime need your help. Our planet's core is made of candy, and it's giving us all tummy aches." Message after message, aliens from across the galaxy were reaching out for help. Some problems were serious, others were less so. "Wow," Big Mike said, scratching his head. "We're like space celebrities now." Samantha grinned. "Operation Galaxy Guards is a go, I guess." And so began a whirlwind adventure across the stars. The Stardust crew visited planet after planet, helping aliens of all shapes and sizes. On Sparkle 7, they discovered the pink sun was caused by a giant space flamingo that had gotten stuck in orbit. With some clever maneuvering and a lot of birdseed, they managed to free it. On Cuddle Prime, Doc whipped up a galaxy-sized bottle of antacid to settle the planet's candy core. The fluffballs were so happy they declared a new holiday, Tums Day. With each mission, the crew's fame grew. Fan clubs popped up on different planets. Alien kids played with action figures of the Stardust team. There were even rumors of a galactic movie deal. But fame in space isn't all fun and games. Sometimes it's just weird. Like when they visited the planet Squish, where the locals showed their appreciation by trying to absorb the humans into their gooey bodies. "It's a hug," the Squishians insisted. "It feels more like drowning in Jell-O." Jack sputtered as he squelched his way back to the ship. Or the time they helped the Melodians of Harmony 3 fix their planet's musical core. The grateful aliens gifted them with personalized theme songs that would play whenever they entered a room. Big Mike's song was a booming orchestra piece that made windows rattle. Maria's was a complex electronic beat that messed with nearby computers. And poor Charlie's song was so high-pitched only space dogs could hear it. "Maybe we can use these as weapons," Samantha suggested, wincing as all the songs played at once. But for all the strange encounters, there were plenty of heartwarming moments too. On the water world of Splish Splash, they taught the local mer aliens how to surf. Watching Big Mike ride a 100-foot wave on a board made of glowing algae was a sight no one would ever forget. And on Whisper, a planet of shy, cloud-like beings, they helped the Whisperians find their voice, literally, and stand up to a gang of interstellar bullies. The sight of a bunch of fluffy clouds yelling "boo" and scaring off tough alien thugs had the whole crew in stitches. As their adventures continued, the team began to notice something. The galaxy was changing. Planets that had been isolated were now communicating. Species that had been at war for centuries were working together. "I think we're doing more than just solving problems," Doc said one evening as they relaxed in the Stardust's common room. "We're uniting the galaxy." Jack nodded, a thoughtful look on his face. "You're right, but I can't help feeling like we're building up to something bigger." How right he was. One day, as they were helping the rock people of Boulder Boudoir redecorate their crystal caves, they received an urgent message. It was from Zorp and the Bliplops. "Humans, friends, you must return quickly." Zort's hologram looked panicked. "The Buzzkillers, they're back, and they're not alone." The team rushed back to the Bliplop planet, but they were too late. The Buzzkillers had already come and gone, leaving destruction in their wake. "They took our crystals," Zorp said, his scales a sad shade of blue. All of them. And they said they're going to use them to power a weapon. A weapon big enough to destroy entire planets. The news hit the crew like a punch to the gut. All their adventures, all their new fame, and they couldn't even protect their first alien friends. "This is all our fault," Samantha said, kicking a piece of rubble. "We embarrassed the bus killers, and now they're out for revenge." But Jack shook his head. "No, this isn't just about us or the blip-blops anymore. This is about the whole galaxy." He looked at each of his teammates, determination in his eyes. "It's time to call in every favor, every friend we've made. We need to gather an army." Maria nodded, already tapping away at her computer. "I'm sending messages to all our allies, the glitter folk, the fluffballs, the squishins, everyone. Don't forget the Wisperians," Charlie added. "They may be shy, but they're braver than they look." Big Mike cracked his knuckles. "So, we're going from galaxy guards to gathering a galactic army. I like it." As the team began preparing for the biggest fight of their lives, they couldn't help but marvel at how far they'd come. From Earth outcasts to the galaxy's greatest hope. Doc chuckled. "You know, when we first stole that spaceship, I never thought we'd end up here." "Yeah," Jack said with a smile. "But you know what? There's no group I'd rather save the galaxy with." As the Stardust took off, ready to rally their alien allies, one thing was clear. The final battle was coming, and it was going to be out of this world. Humans saved the day. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. Thousands of spaceships, all different shapes and sizes, gathered near the Blip-Blop planet. It was the most colorful, weird, and wonderful space army ever. There were the glittery ships of the glitter folk, shining like disco balls. The fluffy cloud ships of the Wisperians floated nearby. Even the squishins were there in ships that looked like giant water balloons. In the middle of it all was the Stardust, leading this strange fleet. "I can't believe they all came," Charlie said, his eyes wide as he looked at the view screen. Jack nodded, a proud smile on his face. "That's the power of friendship, kid, even in space." Suddenly, alarms blared. A massive ship appeared, bigger than anything they'd ever seen. It was the Buzzkiller mothership. "Attention, puny aliens," the Buzzkiller leader's voice boomed across space. "Surrender now, or face the power of our planet-destroying weapon." The huge ship opened up, revealing a giant crystal cannon. It glowed with the power of all the stolen crystals. "That doesn't look good," Big Mike muttered. But Jack wasn't worried. He had a plan. He always had a plan. "All right, team," he said. "Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves now. We're fighting for the whole galaxy. Let's show these bugs what happens when you mess with Earth's finest rejects." The battle began. It was chaos, but beautiful chaos. The Glitterfolk ships shot beams of blinding light, confusing the Buzzkillers. The Wisperian clouds surrounded enemy ships, making them lose their way. The Squishins, well, they mostly just bounced off things, but they were trying their best. On the Stardust, everyone had a job to do. Maria and Charlie worked their tech magic, hacking into Buzzkiller ships and making them do silly things. One giant battleship ended up playing happy dance music instead of firing its weapons. Doc was in his element, mixing up crazy potions and loading them into the ship's cannons. One of his concoctions turned a whole squad of Buzzkiller fighters into floating bubbles. Samantha was at the weapons, her targeting perfect as always. But instead of destruction, her shots covered enemy ships in sticky goo or bright paint. Big Mike was having the time of his life, using a special spacesuit Doc had made. He was out in space, punching Buzzkiller ships. "Best day ever," he yelled as he knocked another ship spinning. And Jack was doing what he did best, leading. His voice came over the communication system, encouraging their allies and coordinating their attacks. But the Buzzkillers were tough. Despite all the craziness, they were pushing forward, getting closer to firing their big crystal cannon. "We need to do something about that weapon," Samantha shouted. That's when Zorp's voice came over the radio. "Humans, we have an idea." The Bliplops had been busy during the fight. They had gathered every musical instrument on their planet, which, being Bliplops, was a lot of squeaky toys and kazoos. "We're going to play the Sonic Squeal," Zorp said. "It's our most powerful song, but we need your help to make it loud enough." Jack grinned. "Doc, can you rig up something to amplify their sound?" Doc's eyes gleamed. "Oh, I've got just the thing." Working faster than ever, Doc built a giant space speaker. It was crazy and looked like it might fall apart any second, but it worked. "Now, Zorp," Jack yelled. Millions of Bliplop voices joined together in the squeakiest, highest-pitched song ever heard in the galaxy. The giant speaker blasted it straight at the Buskiller mothership. The effect was amazing. The crystal cannon started to vibrate. Cracks appeared in its surface. "No," the Buskiller leader cried. "Stop that awful noise." But it was too late. With a sound like a trillion windows breaking, the crystal cannon shattered. Pieces of crystal flew everywhere, twinkling like stars. The Buskiller mothership, without its weapon, started to retreat. The rest of their fleet followed. A cheer went up across the galaxy. They had won. As the Buskillers disappeared into deep space, the celebration began. And what a party it was. Each alien species had their own way of celebrating. The glitter folk turned nearby asteroids into giant disco balls. The fluff balls made a planet-sized cotton candy machine. The squishians gave everyone squishy hugs, which was still weird but nice. And the Bliplops. They played their victory song, which lasted 3 days and could probably be heard on Earth. In the middle of it all, the Stardust crew looked at each other, tired but happy. "We really did it," Charlie said, still not quite believing it. "Was there ever any doubt?" Jack replied with a wink. As the party went on, leaders from every alien race gathered on the Bliplop planet. They had an important announcement. "Brave humans," a glittery alien said, "you have united the galaxy. You've shown us that our differences are our strength." Therefore, a fluffy Wisperian continued in a soft voice, "We would like to make Earth an official member of the Galactic Alliance." The Stardust crew was stunned. They looked at each other, then at Jack. Jack stepped forward. "We're honored," he said, "but we're not the leaders of Earth. We're just a bunch of misfits who stole a spaceship." The aliens laughed. "We know," said Zorp. "That's why we like you. You show that anyone can be a hero." "So," the glittery alien said, "will you be Earth's ambassadors to the galaxy?" Jack looked at his team. At Maria, the brilliant hacker. At Big Mike, the gentle giant. At Doc, the mad scientist with a heart of gold. At Samantha, the tough soldier with perfect aim. At Charlie, the young genius who had found his place among the stars. They all nodded, grinning from ear to ear. "Well then," Jack said, turning back to the aliens. "On behalf of Earth, we accept." The cheer that went up could have shaken planets. As the celebration continued, the Stardust crew looked up at the stars. Once, they had been outcasts on their own planet. Now, they were heroes to an entire galaxy. "So," Big Mike said, munching on some weird alien snack, "what do we do now?" Jack laughed. Now we go on even bigger adventures. We got a whole galaxy to explore, new friends to make, and who knows, maybe more bad guys to stop." "Sounds good to me," Samantha said, raising her glass of glowing alien juice. "To the Galaxy Guards." To the Galaxy Guards. Everyone cheered. And so, as the party raged on and new friendships were formed, Earth's unlikely heroes looked to the future. Their greatest adventure was just beginning.